This video is sponsored by World of Warships.
The DeLorean. Gull-wing doors rise effortlessly, beckoning you inside.
Alright, so we're gonna give it a shot in this video to redesign or modernize the DMC DeLorean. Now, I made a redesign on this, I think it must have been over 2 years now, right here on the channel. That redesign was more of an experimental approach to the design. In this video, I wanted to try to stay a little bit more true to the original proportions and most of all the graphics of the DMC DeLorean. Kind of make it look almost like a cyberpunk style update modernization of the DMC. I mean, it's already there. It's so much that feels almost steampunk to me about this design. So it's not going to be very difficult to figure out what we can do with this, but it's going to be a lot of fun. The body design of the DeLorean was a product of Giugiaro of Italdesign. To create the car, Giugiaro drew inspiration from one of his previous works, the Porsche Tapiro, a concept car from the 1970s. And when we go into Photoshop in just a minute here, I'm going to show you just how similar the Porsche Tapiro is to the DMC DeLorean. There are a lot of similarities between the two. Before we go any further, I want to take a minute to thank today's sponsor, World of Warships. World of Warships is a stunning free-to-play game available for PC. It's a team-based sea battle that requires you to come up with different strategies and tactics to win. The game features over 400 historical ships that you control in beautiful maps and unique landscapes that even have weather changes in them. On top of that, you can also customize your ships and tweak them to increase performance. There are over 44 million players and 5 different warship types. You have the destroyers, the battleships, the cruisers, the aircraft carriers, and of course the submarines. There are a lot of limited time events happening in the near future. One previous example was the ability to have Kong or Godzilla as commander of your ship. Go ahead and download World of Warship using the first link in the description to get a massive starter pack for free. Simply use the word fire to get 200 doubloons, the premium battleship USS Texas, 20 Restless fire camouflage, 1 million credits, and 7 days of a premium account, all for free. All you gotta do is just click the link in the description to download the game and start playing for free. Thanks again to World of Warships for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back to the future. All DeLoreans left the factory with body panels made of brushed stainless steel, except for 3 cars that were plated in 24-karat gold as part of an American Express promotion. Painted DeLoreans, they do exist, however, they were all painted after the fact that they were produced and shipped from the factory, because all DeLoreans left the factory were all in this brushed stainless steel finish. Another distinctive feature of the DeLoreans is, of course, the gull-wing doors. The doors could only have small cutout windows, since full-sized windows would not fully be retractable within the short door panels. When it comes to the power and drivetrain, that's where DeLorean is a bit of a disappointment, because it does 0 to 60 in about 9.5-10 seconds, whereas the competition of the time we're averaging around 7.5 or 8 seconds at the same time for the same sprint 0 to 60. And when you look at the power output, it all makes sense, since the DeLorean only generated 130 horsepower and 153 pound-feet of torque from its 2.8 liter V6. This was a big critic of the DeLorean at the time. It looked a lot faster than it actually was. One good thing is that you could get it with the 5-speed manual as standard, or you can opt for a 3-speed automatic. However, I'm not sure how slow the automatic would be with only 3 speeds and 130 horsepower in this car. I would definitely stick with the manual transmission for this car right here. So I want to show you the concept car, the Porsche Tapiro, and compare it to the DeLorean. So the DeLorean here came after the Tapiro, and they were both designed by Giugiaro, and you can see that they are very, very similar here, specifically in this raked design that they both have. They both have this line in the middle cutting through the entire car, going into the front end. Since this is a production car and this is a concept car, they kept it a little more production friendly, I guess you could say, with the DeLorean up there. So you can see that they implemented a proper bumper right here. But I guess if Giugiaro were to have it his way, he wouldn't want to have a bumper there. He would probably have it want it to be looking something like this. But if you want to go into production, you need to add some safety features, follow regulations, and boring stuff like that. So that's just sometimes what happens. But more similar stuff here is you can see the greenhouse has over almost the same kind of rake like we have on the Porsche down here, and the windows as well. We have the same kind of window right here in the back as we have on the Porsche, and the same style of the regular window here as well. You can see that the shape of the outline of the window is pretty much the same, and just the overall graphics as well. You have this black piece down here as you have on the DeLorean right here as well. The front end, I guess, is the one that really separates the two. Porsche, I guess, had pop-up headlights. I'm not sure about this right here, or if it's just a concept. Maybe it's just a shell sculpture sort of experimentation or something like that. But what I want to show you now is the transition from 1981 model year to 1983. The DeLorean had a couple of changes from the model years, very tiny, small changes. The big change what happened to the hood right here. So if you look at the top part right here, this is a 1981 up here, and this down here is a 1983. Now there were some more differences than this that showed here on this piece right here. For example, the wheels from 1981 looked different than they did in 1983. The coloring of this piece in the center right here, I think in the early versions, I'm not sure, I think these were silver, but in the later versions this is what they turned out to be, with a black center piece right here with DMC stamped in silver on top of that to have some more contrast between the black and DMC on the wheels. But if we look at the main change right here, it's obviously the hood. So the hood on the 1981, you had a cap right here. This is the fuel filler tank gas cap right here, which is an interesting placement. I've never seen that before. So you kind of have to reach over in and then pump gas, bending over the hood of the car. But they changed that for 1983. So you can see right here, now we don't have a cap anymore here. That's all gone. Instead, they added a DMC or DeLorean logo right here in the bottom corner of the hood. So if you want to know if you see a DeLorean, if it had these stripes or lines in the hood, it's an early version DeLorean. If it's a clear hood like this with a DeLorean emblem down at the bottom right corner of the hood, then it is a later model DeLorean. Now DeLorean also had this option. This was one of the few options, in addition to the automatic 3-speed transmission, you could add for a DeLorean. This black stripe here or decal, I really think this really changes the design and the overall feeling of the proportions here for the car. I would definitely go for the decal, because if you look at it without the decal, it's a little too naked here for some reason, and this decal is something that I want to implement in the redesign. Maybe have sort of like a Ferrari F40 gap going following the body line right there. We can put some lights in there, maybe have it wrap around like right here to the front end, and have it be a light in here as well. I'm not really sure, but this is the view that we're gonna have for the redesign. These wheels, I'm gonna have to see if I can find, maybe the new Mercedes S-Class wheels look similar to these. We might be able to put them in there, but these are I love the design of these wheels, and it's gonna be hard to find replacements for them. If not, I'm just gonna take these wheels and make them larger to fit a more modernized version. But with that said, let's jump into the redesign here, and let's see how this is going to turn out. So upon release in 1981, the DeLorean had a base MSRP of $25,000, which is about $71,000 in today's money. However, the price would increase pretty dramatically over the years. The following years, in 1982, for example, it went out from $25,000 to $29,825, or that is a jump from $71,000 today to $80,000, and even more in 1983. It went from the first base price in 1981 of $25,000, and in 1983 the same car cost $34,000, which is about $88,000 in today's money. So a price increase of what this is 36% over 2 years for the same car usually isn't a great sales tactic, but that's what they had to do to try and stay afloat at the time. So my idea of the DeLorean, why I like the DeLorean so much, is because John DeLorean, he took a shot, at least, even though he did it in some controversial ways, in many ways, I guess you could say, and specifically when it comes to the funding part of this business. But what I like about DeLorean is that he decided to take a shot, and I have a massive respect for anyone who has a vision of what they want to do, what they want to create in their life, and then they don't just have a single focus on getting that done, no matter what it takes. And I think that's what John DeLorean decided to do with the DeLorean car. Unfortunately, it didn't work out financially in the end, but at the same time, he created one of the most recognizable, famous cars of the 1980s. 80s, specifically since it was featured in Back to the Future series or trilogy. So when it comes to the parts of this car, the design was made by Italdesign, so it's an Italian design from a US manufacturer with a Peugeot, Renault, Volvo 2.8 liter V6. So it's a mix of a bunch of different cultures coming together in this car. I think that's also another cool thing. It's a little bit, it's pretty disappointing, I would say. It's not a little bit, it's pretty massively disappointing that it only has 130 horsepower and 153 pound-feet of torque. But you know what? I don't know if that really matters in the long run here, in the long term, when we look at this, because it all has to do with the design and how this car makes you feel. And to me, I think a lot of you, just like myself, has this connection with this car just thanks to the movie Back to the Future, and it kind of makes you feel cool just by seeing it out on the road. And I can remember a couple of years back here in Florida when I can't remember exactly where it was, but I saw a replica of the Back to the Future car with the boosters in the back and all the wiring, and it looks really cool when you see it out, even though it isn't the most powerful car out there of the 80s. But talking about the redesign here, so as I said, I did make a redesign of this in 2019, so that was close to 3 years ago now, and that was more of I wanted to have more of an exoskeleton look to that design and more of a unique front fascia. That kind of, I wanted to have that have the same feeling of the original DMC DeLorean, but in a new way. So smooth out the curvatures and create some cool exoskeleton look. So that was a very experimental approach to that redesign. In this redesign, though, as I said, I want to keep it very clean, because this is a clean design. It's a Italdesign, Giugiaro design. He did the Golf Mark 1 too, which is very boxy and clean, almost chamfered on all corners and edges. And this has a similar approach to that, and that's what I'll keep here. Just update and clean it up and bring the car closer to the ground, make it look modernized by bringing it closer to the ground, specifically in the front end. I'm gonna do a very small tiny change at the very end of this redesign, because I came back to this design, looked at it after 30 minutes or so, and I thought the front end looked like it has too much of an underbite. So I wanted to bring in the front end a little bit further back to give it more of this original raked look like we have in the original DeLorean, and maybe have that visualized in some way, while at the same time bringing the front end further closer to the ground. When it comes to the lighting, why not have some cool orange amber indicator light or position light in this black strip that goes from the front to the end of the car, and keep the shapes of the headlights very traditional to the original one, so very squarish, very geometrical, which I think is at the moment doing a huge comeback. Just look at the Ioniq 5, for example, and the design there. So I want to have kind of like an Ioniq 5 feel for this redesign. Super fun to do, and I'm really happy how this turned out. I'm really happy about the first redesign I did for, of the DeLorean as well. However, this is a totally different approach, and the original idea was different here when I started out with this redesign. Thanks again to World of Warships for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to download the game down in the description, and thanks to you for checking out this video and staying all the way until the end. I will see you in the next one.